तो मैं सर को आमंत्रित करता हूं कि सर अपना वक्तव्य प्रस्तुत करें। पीपीटी।
सिद्धसिद्धतरत्नभूमिका कल्पवृक्षवनवाटिकान्तरे रत्नसानुवलयेन संयुते तत्र वापि शतकेन संकुले नीपवाटिमणिमण्टपस्थिते चन्द्रभानुशतकोटिभासुरे आदिपञ्चशिवमञ्चके परे शङ्कराङ्कमणिपीठिकातले। श्रीपरदेवतायै नमः। नमस्सभायै। किञ्चित् संस्कृतमेव जानामि। ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ದಿಸ್ ಮಚ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಐ ನೋ. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಎನಿವೇ ಮೈ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಮನಾಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಮಂಗ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜಸ್. अहमपि संस्कृतं पठितवान्. 15 वर्षेभ्यः पूर्वमहं पठितवान्. इदानीं भवन्तं दृष्ट्वा अहं मम डीप् स्ट्रक्चर् मध्ये एवम् अस्ति, अपि सर्फेस् स्ट्रक्चर् तः आगतवान्. किञ्चित् मम संस्कृतम् एवम् अस्ति, भवान् अड्जस्ट् करोतु, भवती अड्जस्ट् करोतु. ठीक है. So I don't want to speak in Sanskrit. Anyway, I will talk in English. ठीक है? It's fine. Then you okay. So let me start with, भाई साहब समय है, थोड़ा भूमिका देंगे उसके बाद. The भारतीय भाषा परिवार. Eminent speakers have been talking about भारतीय भाषा परिवार. So my interpretation is like this. भारतीय भाषा परिवार. There are three important things. One is मातृ or माता, मातृभाषा and मातृभूमि. These are three important things. ठीक है. Generally we have the values like Matradevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava. No one cares Atithi nowadays. That is different thing. Okay. But my interpretation is this. Matradevo Bhava. Mata, she is ultimate, unique. Why? Because we have seen the evidences, especially Adi Shankaracharya, Shivaji, where there is no Pita and Guru, Mata could make a wonderful person. ठीक है. But without Mata, if there is Pita and Guru, you are incomplete. So इसलिए Matradevo Bhava, that is the ultimate thing. In the same way, Matrubhasha also plays the same role. Like Mata. If you learn some other languages without your Matrubhasha, then you are not a complete man. Okay, your knowledge is not complete. Matrubhumi, if you do not respect Matrubhumi, then what is the use? These are the important things. And Parivar, there are three functions in Parivar. कुटुंबम बोलते, परिवार बोलते, है ना. इसमें number one, that is identity. Second thing is inclusiveness. And if you look at the history of India, we never fought for languages. That means our culture is inclusive culture. We accept every language, every culture. That is the reason we have borrowings and other things. Okay. And the Rigvedic quotation which I like most is Ano bhadrah kratavo yantu vishwataha. Let the noble thoughts come from all the directions. This is our philosophy. That means we are open to all the cultures, but at the same time we are proving our identity. And another function is that we also protect our suppose somebody is weak in our family, what we do? We protect him. Okay. And after protecting our family, what we do? We protect our neighbor languages also, neighbor families also. This is the concept of Bharatiya Bhasha Parivar. Now, generally, we say that, I have done this, I have done that, I am gold medalist, these things we say. But according to our philosophy, if you look at Panini's thing, what Panini says, by the way, I am not Sanskrit scholar, but I know a little bit of Sanskrit, that is different thing. What Panini says, Panini smarta, nato srashta. This is what higher. Because whatever the sutras that he has written, he got the revelation from the Maheshwara. That's why they are known as Maheshwara Sutras. Nratta Vasane Natarajara. You know all these things. I need not tell you. So, if you philosophically, if you look at I, that is aham. Shariram to asmakam nasti. Parents have given the sharira. This is not your property, no? We are not Swayambhu. Parents have given the sharira. Whatever the buddhi, whatever the saundaryam, whatever the other things, it has genes bolte. Then whatever the samskara, whatever the knowledge that you have acquired, this is from the gurus and the society. Then what is your contribution? Who are you? Philosophically. Okay. But what happens when we talk about parivara and other things? Philosophically, we can say that this is not my sharira, this is but the another interpretation is this: you should protect your sharira because that is yours. This is another perspective, right? So here what we are doing, why I am talking about these things, because we are talking about the identity. What is our identity? Bharatiyata. I heard some sutra like tasya bhavas tvatalau. There is one sutra, no? Tvatal prachay kuch hai. So these are the things. So initially, let me tell you, because this is not a whatever there is given in the chapters 1.1, 5.1, aisa kuch bhi nahi hai, but I'll give you the summary of the thing, and let me tell you how linguists think about this phenomenon, and what kind of analysis we do, and what is the difference between Indian grammatical tradition and modern linguistics, and how to integrate both. These are the interesting points. And meanwhile, I also discuss the things like commonality, but already everybody has discussed these things. Charvita charvanameva. I try to put them in a different way. Okay. The first thing is that somebody raised a point that Paniniyam Vyakaranam, whether it is descriptive or prescriptive. Here, what we think is Paniniya Vyakaranam is both descriptive as well as prescriptive. Okay, because Panini is describing the Sanskrit language at that time. This is the description. Okay. How phonology is there, morphology is there, syntax there, semantics is there. He is describing the language. Okay, description is the first thing. Then, at the same time, he is prescribing the rules for the language. Because I am not a Samskritagnya, I need not tell you these things, but there are certain features for Vyakarana, that is, Rakshana, Uha, there are certain characteristics, what for, these grammars were prepared to protect the Veda and other things. Okay. So because of that reason, he is prescribing the rules. Paniniya Vyakaranam, no sir, why we have to follow the Paninian Sutras? Now I will change. If you have guts, you change. Who is stopping you? Okay. Because his grammar, his way of thinking, his framework is, it is not atomic, it is, holistic. By looking at all the Shastras, Vedangas, he is giving one, he is prescribing or he is describing one rule. Okay. Because of that reason, for me, this is holistic grammar. It is not atomic grammar. What is this atomic and holistic grammar? Suppose you are looking at an elephant from one side and you are describing the elephant, then it is atomic grammar. That means Purataha Bhavantaha Drushtavantaha, this is elephant you are describing. That is atomic. Somebody looks at elephant from some other angle and he describes. But holistic grammar is that after looking at elephant from all the directions, then he describes the elephant. That is holistic grammar. So the basic thing is that Panini's grammar is holistic grammar. Okay. And more than that, if I say this, you may not believe, but I have to say this. It is not descriptive, it is not prescriptive, it is beyond that. Let us say it is cognitive grammar, I say. Sir, what is the, sir, when you are saying this is descriptive and prescriptive, what is the evidence that you want to show? Because evidence should be provided by Samskritagnaha. Okay. But there is a pramana or there is a rule that prayoga sharanam vyakaranam. Okay. It clearly says that this is a descriptive grammar. Depending on the prayoga, we are writing the grammar. That's all. This is the evidence. Okay, without evidence we cannot talk. Especially Panini. Darbha Pavitra Panihi, Acharyaha, Pramukha, Upavisha, all these things, I never studied these things, but okay. So, why I am saying this as cognitive grammar, there is, I think in Mahabhasha, he explains the meaning of Kriya. Kriya, Vyapara, Bhavana, there are many, terms that are given to this Kriya or Akhyata, whatever it may be, a verb. Pachati. What is Pachati? They explain. So there is a starting point and there is a ending point, final point. In between, we have innumerable activities and they have a sequence. If the sequence is disturbed, then you won't get the phala. Phala vachna vyapara va, vyapara vachna phalam va, nagesha va. Okay. So here, how do you say that this is a cognitive grammar? So he is talking about kriya, pachana kriya, and placing the vessel on the hearth, that is stove, that is the first movement. What is the last movement? Replacing the vessel from the hearth, that is the final movement or end point. In between, we add some rice and we pour some water and we'll adjust the flame according to our need, all these things. These are avantara kriyas. So when I say pachana kriya, pachana or odanam, let us say, pachana kriya abhavat. So pachana kriya indicates that the innumerable activities from first point to the end point, as one kriya, it flashes in your mind, and then that is called as pachati. Pachati kriya. ये तो cognitive grammar है ना फिर. Why we should stop at descriptive and prescriptive grammar? Why should fight at descriptive grammar? No, this is beyond that. This is cognitive grammar. All these are my point of views. Okay, if you accept, if you do not accept, that is different thing. But I am free to put my ideas in front of you. Okay. Then, what is the characteristic feature of Bharatiya Vyakaranam? Let us say, Bharatiya Bhasha Parivar, I am using Bharatiya Bhasha Vyakaranam. Okay. सो आपको पता है वेदांगास कितना है जी? हाँ, क्या है? शिक्षा, हाँ, शिक्षा, व्याकरणम, निरुक्तम, छंदसो, ज्योतिषम, kalpam. Okay, if you look at these 6 vedangas, 4 of them related to language: shiksha, vyakaranam, chandasu, niruktam. Okay, then they are not independent for me. Okay, phonetics, the shiksha is nothing but phonetics, dhvani shastram. In linguistics what we say is dhvani shastram, and we have a hierarchy like this, that is, dhvani shastram, varna shastram, padashastram, vakya shastram, artha shastram. Artha shastra is semantics, not that ardha shastram. Okay, so this is our hierarchy. But why I am saying that phonetics is not atomic, because let me give you one thing. We say, we recite sometimes the stotras like Achyutam Keshavam Ramanarayanam Krishna Damodaram Vasudevam Harim. ठीक है ना? अच्युतम केशवम रामनारायण, राइट? नहीं, हाँ, कृष्ण दामोदर, वॉट एवर इट मे बी. ओके, so here my point is Achyutam Keshavam. This is the correct pronunciation, right? But according to Anuswara Niyamas and Visarga Niyamas, Achyutam should not be the correct one, no? Because it is followed by Ka. When zero is or Anuswara is followed by Kavarga, then the Varga Panchamakshara should be pronounced. But we are Achyutam के वो ठीक नहीं है ना, फिर कैसे pronounce Achyutam? That should be the correct one, no? Then that's why it is not that phonetics is separate shastra. Only those who study shiksha, they have to recite that one, otherwise no. So for all the things it is antarlina. That is one thing. Then Vyakaranam, I did not tell you, because there is a wrong translation that the scholars, modern linguist scholars, instead of Western scholars, I say modern linguistics people are scholars. According to the definition of Vyakarna, Vyakriyante apashabdebhyah pratakriyante sadhu shabdananena Vyakaranam. This is what I remember. I don't know whether it is right or not. Okay. So for Kesham Shabdanam, there are 2 types of Shabdas, Sadhu Shabda and Asadhu Shabda. Now, whether Panini is writing grammar for Sadhu Shabdas or Asadhu Shabdas, this is the discussion. Okay. Because Asadhu Shabdas are innumerable, we don't know how many Asadhu Shabdas are there. Panini is writing grammar for Sadhu Shabdas. Okay. Well-formedness is a concept in linguistics. This is what we follow in linguistics also. Okay. Then for you this is Vyakaranam, for us it is linguistics. Okay. If you translate Vyakaranam into English, what is the translation? थोड़ा बोलो यार, अरे क्या है? Vyakaranam, grammar. According to some scholars like Korad Subramanian sir, what they say is Vyakaranam cannot be translated as grammar, because Vyakaranam includes the component of dharma. If you say that Sadhu Shabda, if you pronounce Sadhu Shabda, then you will get the merit, dharma. Otherwise it is adharma. So this kind of spirituality is there only in Sanskrit. It is not there in modern linguistics. And modern linguistics, what they do is they remove this spirituality component from the language, and they look at the language use and accordingly they write the Vyakarna. This is the main difference. Sir, वो ये है ना? So then there are nirukta, etymology. What we say is etymology. Etymology, origin of व्युत्पत्ति शास्त्र, ठीक है. हाँ, this also contributes to, you know, historical and literary language studies, because we have been discussing about Indo-Aryan, you know, invasion theory, all these things. But you know, the thing is that, you know, place names and person names, they contribute, they give you lot of evidence. For example, if Indo-Aryans or Aryans are not native of India, if they are from Videsha, let us say, then always why we should study even in our Sankalpa also, Krishna Godavari or Madhya Deshe we say, but we never say that Mississippi Nadi Madhya Pradesh, Alfonso Parvata Shreni Madhya. Do we say that? No. See, what I mean to say is, suppose I am coming from Telangana. I am writing a book, let us say. So ultimately, my experience, that is ecological knowledge, and my familiar names of that place should be, you know, replicated in my studies. This is natural phenomenon of any, right? And no, Sankalpa, this is an example. If you take Veda, you won't find any of these things in Veda also. We find Maitreyi, Gargi, these things, but we never say Elizabeth or something names in the Veda. This is the common sense. No, we need not worry about the archaeological these things. But you know, my worry is commonly these things are not visible there. Then you know, people already, you know, they have discarded the theory of Indo-Aryan and, you know, Saral. Everybody has their opinions, so I need not you know, talk about that. But you know, the etymology contributes a lot to language study, historical study, archaeological study. This is what my point is. Then another thing is that, you know, sometimes we have more than one etymologies. What is the etymology of Karnataka? You are staying in Karnataka, no? So when I say that there are many etymologies, okay, Kurup something, you know, it has come from Kuruk something. But you know, the Sanskrit etymology for this is Karneshu Atati iti Karnataka. That's why we say Karnataka Sangeetam. That means it is, Karnataka Sangeeta is not from Karnataka. The Madhurya of Karnataka Sangeeta is there. That is, you know, Karneshu Atati iti. So it is ringing in the ears of the listener. That is the etymology of. So how etymology plays a vital role, you can understand now. So generally, you know, in Delhi University, we get students from northeast, south, from everywhere. The very first question in historical linguistics is that, you know, please find out the etymology of your language. Assamese. क्या Assamese बोले तो क्या, Assami बोले तो क्या है? Because that is the identity, no? Telangana बोले तो क्या है? Etymology. That is one thing. So if you go by the etymology of Bharata, then you know, it is, we need not worry about the Aryan invasion theory, nothing. It is very much Sanskrit. It is, you know, it is evident. That is one thing. And Jyotish and Kalpan, they have their own things. So there is not much, you know, to talk about the linguistic things in that, but there are so many. Then coming to the modern linguistics, how we write a grammar. Sir, I'll come to this part, don't worry. Okay. Because you know, they know half of the slides, and you know, Surya Kumar ji, Surya Prasad ji talked about, even Mahodaya api uktavan idanimeva bhavan api madhya kinchida. ठीक है. So in modern linguistics, what we do is, there are, as I said, there is a hierarchy. That is, first we look at the phonetics, that is Dhvani Shastram. Okay. This, when I said Dhvani, because there is a mismatch between Indian concepts and modern linguistics concepts. Like the Vyakarna Shastram itself is termed as Shabdanushasana. It is not Padanushasana, Vakyanushasana, Arthanushasana, but Shabdanushasana. So if you look at this, the meanings of Shabda, we have more than 10 meanings for this Shabda. Shabda, Dhvani, Shabda means Varnam, Shabda means Padam, Shabda means Vakyam, Avantara Vakyam, Spota, Kavyam, many things. Okay. But for Padam we have definition, Suptingantam Padam. Okay. So Padam is different and Shabdam is different, but sometimes there is overlapping between these things. When we study this modern linguistics, we say that only word, that is phonological word and morphological word, orthographic word, lexeme, word class, there are many things. So there is a mismatch between these things. Even the philosophical concepts like Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama and Vaikhari, I'll please remind me after discussing these things, you should remind me, because my area of interest is that how to integrate modern linguistics and Indian grammatical tradition. I have done some work on this model, and I have my own views. Let me tell you those things at the last, not now. So now Dhvani Shastram. Dhvani Shastram means there are three branches in Dhvani Shastra, that is phonetics, articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetics and auditory phonetics. And how it is produced, how it is articulated. Then the sound which is traveled in the air, that is acoustics, that is studied by the machines like spectrogram and spectrographs. And we whatever we hear, that is auditory phonetics. Okay. So the earlier I said that the kriya, that is it is the definition of kriya, the Paninian grammar is cognitive. There are some resemblances between modern linguistics and Paninian grammar, because here they said that kriya is the mental construct or cognitive construct. So here Sapir is a scholar. What he said is phoneme, that is varna. Varna is also psychological. Okay. What does it mean by psychological? Any Malayalam speaker is here? Acha. Simple. How do you pronounce? Simple. Huh? Huh?
Symbol.
Huh? Symbol. But your spelling is not Simble, right? When you write Simble, but when you pronounce symbol. Huh? Some people they say plate, instead of plate they say something else. Okay. So that means you never listen to pa, because that is not there in your cognitive ability. Ability is a cognitive grammar. Whatever you hear is ba, whatever you produce is ba. That is what what Sapir calls this as psychological reality. Okay. And most of the Indians, we do not have fa. Fa is because that is borrowed from other languages, especially from English or Perso-Arabic. Firang. Okay. So what happens when we nativize the sounds? Suppose when we were young, it doesn't mean that I am old now, but when we were young at your age, 20, 25, we used to apply a cream I don't know, still is it existing or not. Do you remember the name of that cream? Use for these many weeks, then you see the difference from black to white. ऐसा कुछ है. Very good. क्या है ना? But most of the times, especially in rural areas, people, they don't pronounce fa. Fair and lovely. Fair and lovely, sir. Even nowadays, what we do, instead of coffee, है ना? Because fa is not our native sound. We have borrowed that one. So when we borrow those sounds, what happens if you do not have the same sound in your language, the nearest sound you replace. That is the concept. This happens in nativization. And the another important and very funniest thing is that we have a car which is Maruti, but that model is very famous. Do you know any famous model of Maruti? Our it starts with S. Ne. It ends with ta. Huh? है ना? Because you have studied, now you are in post graduation, no? PhD. क्या कर रहे हैं आप? PG. Because you are well qualified, you are saying Swift. But people say shipped. But see, what is this? Where there is a pa, where there is fa, you pronounce it as a pa. When you have a swift, you say shift. So all these things, they happen because of the borrowing and the divergence between two phonologies. Takes time, Guru, because I am foundation. So then, first is a Dhvani Shastra, that is, phonetics, how sounds are produced, where the sound is produced. There are many differences and similarities between modern and traditional linguistics. But, I think in Pani and grammar we have three-way distinction, that is, sthana, karana, antara. What is that? Place of articulation, manner of articulation. These are the Western concept. Western in the sense in modern linguistics concept. Sthana, karana, prayatna. Okay. So there is three-way distinction of words. Okay. And so this is another thing is that retroflex murdhanya. Yesterday, Mahodaya. Retroflex, he was saying that, no? So, murdhanya for modern linguistics, it is place of articulation. But for our Indian tradition, this is manner. Okay? It is not a place. It is the manner how you produce the sound. So, these are the differences between Western as well as modern as well as traditional linguistics. Then Pada Shastra. So in Pada Shastra, what we do, the structure of a noun, the structure of a verb, like if you take Dravidian languages, I'm using these terms because they exist. Okay, especially you take in Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil, there is a root first. I'll take one example from Telugu. Vachadu. He came or he came. Vachadu. So root is vach. Vach is the root. A, vacha, do. So this a is tense marker. Kalabodhaka prachaya. Do is, it indicates person, number and gender. Okay. So we call that as PNG marker. समझ में आ रहा है? Vachadu means third person singular, person, number singular and gender is masculine. Okay. Suppose it is feminine, then vachindi. Okay. So the structure of a verb is a root, that is dhatu, kala prachaya, kalabodhaka prachaya, whether it is present, past or future, whatever it may be. Then person, number, gender, marker. Okay, this is the structure of a verb. And we also have structures for nouns and other things. So we study about the internal structure of words, that what we do in morphology, Padashastra. Then Padashastra is not that Padashastra. Okay. Padavakya Pramana Shastra, not that Padavakya. This is different thing. Okay. Then syntax. Syntax is Vakya Nirmana Shastram. But the criticism is that by modern linguists say that Panini did not look at the syntax, only he permitted himself to only morphology, that is Padashastra. He never talked about the syntactic operations. It's okay. Without syntax only he could write a grammar. That is his model. What you can do? So far, the only perfect grammar is Sanskrit. This is not said by me. Yesterday we have seen the quotations by Meghasundaram sir, Bloomfield and other scholars, more copious than Greek, more compact than something, because the Western scholars felt that. Okay. So what happened? The another similarity is that Paninian grammar, which is morphology driven grammar, that is it is more of morphology. The same thing is happened in modern linguistics by Noam Chomsky, and his latest model is that minimalist program, minimalism, that is a framework. There what he was doing, just he is motivating everything to morphosyntax, like Panini only. This is the another. I'm not saying that they have copied something from here. No, that is not my intention. But there are similarities. The techniques that they have used, that means English. That means they have studied our grammar more than us in a practical way. The thing is that we are stuck with the theory and we are saying that Panini is our guru, Patanjali is our guru, but we are not doing any application of these things, whereas the Western scholars, they have learnt everything and they are using this framework for their applications and language use. This is the difference between the Bharatiya Indian intelligentsia and the Western scholars. Okay. Then after syntax we also have the semantics. Semantics is nothing but Artha Shastra, the meaning. So if you look at the Indian grammatical tradition, we have Artha Shastra right from Rasa theory, Bharata Muni, and very rich in semantics. Actually, if you look at the Vakyapadiyam, Bhartrahari was saying that I think 14 factors, deciding factors of meaning he was explaining. Okay, Prakaranam, Kalaha, there are many things, 14 factors. How these 14 factors contribute to understand the meaning. So these things we take them lightly, but Western scholars, they have taken these things as very prominent and important things. Now, so when they are using the models in natural language processing, computational linguistics, machine translation, they are using all these things to disambiguate the meaning. Saindhavam ityukte Lavanam asti, Ashvaha asti. Kim swikaraniyam? Depending on the context. So like this, he has provided 14 contexts where you know how to decide here this is the meaning. This is not the salt. This is not. This is ashwa. How do you know? Depending on the context, and you know. Even I think in Vakyapadaya only, Yaska's fourfold categorization, Nama, Khyata, Upasarga, Nipatascha. Then you know Panini made this into twofold categorization, Suptingantam Padam. And there is another scholar, I think you know Vyadi, someone he said you know there is another category can be added to that, you know, that is he quotes something from Mimamsa. Shakalya Samhita Manuk Pravarshato. Anu is the word category, Panchama category. Karma Pravachaniya. He says Anu is the Karma Pravachaniya because you know it shows the relationship between recitation of Veda and rain. So here Anu can be taken as the fifth category. So after this, you know, then Upasarga. Bhartrhari explains that you know there are three types of Upasargas: Vachakaha, Dyotakaha, Sahachari. There are certain prayojanas. Okay. So why I am mentioning this point, because there is a relevance for this category, and there is a subject or subfield called you know sentence processing. How a sentence is processed in human brain and in machines. So there we can use this knowledge. And they are studying, because you know you study all these things, but if you do not use, if you do not apply these concepts, then there is no use. Okay, application part should be strong. Otherwise, I have this much theory and no one bothers about you. So here there is an argument in Indian tradition that you know Upasarga is added to Dhatu, then Dhatu takes the case marker. Or you know case marker is added to word, then you know Upasarga is added. Which one is? है ना? क्या है वो? हाँ, I think हाँ पतंजलि महोदयेन उक्तं किल? हाँ नागेश, हाँ ठीक है. हाँ. So here this is very much important for sentence processing. Since you have this all these mechanisms with you, but you know if you are not entering into the field of sentence processing or machine learning, these things, you know, then you know you are committing a sin. ठीक है. हम परिभाषेन्दु शेखरः पठितवान्. हाँ पठितं ठीक है. Then what is your application? That is more important for modern linguistics. Okay. So these are, you know, the hierarchy from the Dhvani Shastra to semantics. So now coming to the present lecture, that is, you know, commonalities among Indian languages, because we are looking at the similarities, not the dissimilarities, the differences. Okay, the Bharatiya Bhasha framework, what we are doing is, why should we worry about the, because विविधता में एकता, एकता में विविधता. This is our, you know, philosophy here. I'll tell you, from in all these levels we have vividhata and ekata, ekata and vividhata in all the things. Like we have discussed fa pa case, okay, but you know meaning is same whether you pronounce it as pa, whether you pronounce it as, like you know the upasarga is si or the prachaya is si or su, but you know the shabda is ramaha only. Okay, this is an argument. Okay, so in the same way I'll give you two examples, because you should understand the terms like convergence and divergence, because you know every scholar has been talking about convergence features, divergence features. What is this convergence and divergence? Do you understand really? Huh? No. Then why didn't you ask them? ठीक है. Suppose I'll give you two words. In English we have hold and catch, है ना? But if you look at Indian languages, you have only one word for both these words, है ना? Hold को क्या बोलते हैं? पटको, पकड़ो, हाँ? और कैच को क्या बोलते? कैच पकड़ना भी बोलते हम, है ना, वो भी है ना. फिर so that means if you look at English from the other point of side, then you know the two words, they are becoming one, that is convergence. Okay, if you look at English from Indian perspective, that is one word is becoming two words, that is a divergent feature. समझ में आया अभी? हाँ, this is very simple. Now English example. What is the English example? Uncle is there. For uncle, how many meanings do we have in our Indian languages? Uncle, more than 4 5? Huh? But whereas Samskrita bhasha, or in Indian languages, we have clarity of expression. Sometimes we say matulaha, sometimes we say mama, something, So that means clarity of speech is there, clarity of expression is there. Okay. Then if you want to decolonize things, the idea is that we need not worry about mama mitraha ekah, mitraha mitram. Mitram asked me that भाई साहब एक डाउट है. भारतीय भाषा परिवार बोल रहे ना आप? हाँ सर, हाउ कैन यू इंक्लूड उर्दू? व्हाट इज द स्टेटस ऑफ उर्दू इन भारतीय भाषा परिवार, बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट आवर. हाँ भाई साहब सुनो, सपोज यू मैरी ए रशियन गर्ल, ठीक है, do you say that she is my wife, or do not accept that she is not my wife, but I married? If you marry a Russian girl, do you accept that she is your wife or not? She is your wife. That means so the Urdu is part of Bharatiya Bhasha Parivar. Even English is also, we are taking this as part of Bharatiya Bhasha Parivar, and we are saying that it is Indian English, है ना? हाँ, हमारा परिवार तो बहुत बड़ा है ना जी. इंक्लूसिवनेस है, ओपननेस है. Then coming back to a decolonization thing, so for one word we have more than 5-6 words in Indian languages. Don't think about English. Take the English word and you nativize the concept, you nativize the word into Indian context. Suppose if you want to say that uncle, maternal uncle, paternal uncle. Uncle, it is not sufficient to say that whether he is maternal or paternal uncle. Then you create a word, because we have word formation process. Panini, Patanjali, Bhartrahari, Vararchi, they have made grammar for us to create new words. फिर कैसे करना? अभी करेंगे. कैसे? For maternal uncle, the same English word we take, we nativize it, okay, according to our needs. Maternal uncle, maternal uncle, will make a word munkle. Paternal uncle, punkle करो क्या? Who is stopping you? है ना? अब फिर हो गया. This is how we have to decolonize things. ठीक है, this is my idea. I don't know, because a lot of research has to be done on these things, but I'm giving just because young minds and energetic minds, future Gargis and Maitreys. So okay. So this is the bhumika. Okay, we can decolonize and we can create new words. Sir, why you want to say that Mankal Pankal, because Mata Maha Pita Maha Ma Pa is there? No, I'm using that. क्या करेगा? That's all. भाई साहब शुरू करेंगे. Please, you can ask me, no problem. हाँ टी ब्रेक, हाँ ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम. हाँ फॉर मी ऑल्सो टी ब्रेक गुरु. हाँ ओके. among Indian languages. As I was uh, explaining the concept of the commonalities among Indian languages is that we are focused on the similarities, not on the differences, divergences. So in this chapter, because this is a linguistic framework, what we have done is we have taken the phonological similarities, morphological similarities, syntactic similarities, and semantic similarities. Sometimes we also talked about the pragmatic similarities. Okay, so now we'll look at these similarities one by one. The first thing is that phonological level. As I told you, phonology is nothing but the Varna Shastra. So there is a difference between Dhvani and Varna according to linguistics. Pa is a Dhvani, irrespective of any language. Pa is present in Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam, all languages. But if you are talking about the production of the sound, that is pa, that is with the two articulators, that is two lips are coming together, then it is there is a release of air. That is the production, the mechanism of pa, if you are explaining, that is phonetics. Okay, but suppose how this pa is used in Telugu, how this pa is used in Malayalam, there is some difference. Okay, depending on the language. If you are referring to a language, then you are talking about pa, then that is phoneme, that is varna. This is the basic difference between dhvani and varna. Dhvani is sarvajanina, because the production of sound is same, the mechanism is same for all the people, but the functioning of pa in languages is different. That is known as varna. Okay, we'll learn slowly. Okay. So in phonology there are certain aspects. Generally, one is different phonemes. Now I am using phoneme that is equivalent to varna. So different varnas, how these different varnas across Indian languages, that is 4 language families, how they are similar, that we look. That is one thing. Second thing is that the combination of sounds. Generally we have a word, and in a word we have 3 environments, that is word initial position, word medial position, and word final position. Padadi, padamadhya, and padanta positions. Okay, so certain phonemes, they occur only in word initial position, certain occur only in word medial, certain occur only in word final position, certain sounds they occur in all the 3 positions. So depending on this also we can say that suppose ana. Okay, na never occurs in word initial position in most of the languages, right? Even in Sanskrit also we do not have ana, murdhanyana. Do we have words with na starting with ana? Nyama ana. Murdhanya? No. Ala? No. Nya? No. So like this, depending on the language families, depending on the languages, there are certain permutations and combinations. Such and such sound occurs in one of the environments, do not occur in other environments. Okay, so depending on these things, we have looked at the phonological similarities, because I am one of the authors for this chapter. So the methodology I am explaining you. First is that looking at the varnas and their distribution. Distribution is nothing but where a sound is occurring, whether it is in word initial, word medial, word final. This is distribution. Then the context. Another thing is that environment or context. That means what precedes a particular sound, what follows a particular sound. Depending on that, the value of the sound, it changes. Okay. And then combination of sounds, that is known as phonotactics. So how to explain this phonotactics? Let us say samyukta dhvanulu. Okay, so pa and ra can come together in word initial position, pra. Okay, and pa and la can come in word initial position in Sanskrit. Okay, but in other languages it is question mark. Klihamo. If you borrow the same thing from Sanskritam to other languages, you have. Otherwise, pa and na, pna. Do you have any word with pna? We do not have. Ma, no. So this is not possible combination. So in phonotactics, we study these things. What are acceptable combinations? What are not acceptable combinations? In word initial position, word medial position, and word final position. It is not about only Visamyukta, even Trisamyukta also. So we call that two cluster. Here the technical term is that, cluster. Cluster means, more than one sound. Two consonant cluster. Three consonant cluster means, more than two sounds. That means three. Three. Sa, ta, ra. This is a three consonant cluster. So how these consonant clusters, they are occurring across these language families. That is another thing. And then the next concept is that, probably it is not here, but what we do in phonology is syllable structure. Syllable structure is that akshara is the rough translation of a syllable. Suppose in Telugu, let us say palaka. Okay, there are three syllables: pa, c, v. C is consonant, and pa. Pa is a combination of p and a. So consonant and vowel. La, consonant and vowel. Ka, C, consonant and a vowel. So here the syllable structure is that, word initial syllable structure is CV. Word medial syllable structure is also CV. Word final syllable structure is also CV. But by taking one word, we cannot say that, this is the initial word syllable structure or initial syllable structure. So monosyllable, that means, a syllable consists of three things. That is a consonant, which comes, before a vowel, that is onset, and the vowel, that is nucleus or peak, we say. Then, after that we may have one or two consonants, that is called coda. So syllable, the typology of syllable is that, the components of syllable is that, onset. In onset position, we have only consonants, one or two consonants or three consonants. But the vowel, that is only one, that is nucleus and peak. Every syllable should have a peak. Okay, pa. In this, we have pa onset, a is nucleus, and we do not have coda. That means, in a syllable, onset and coda are optional ones, whereas the nucleus is the obligatory sound. Okay, then the distribution of sounds, clusters, that is phonotactics, combination of sounds in word initial, medial, final positions. Then syllable structure. Then morphophonemics, that is sandhi, what we call it sandhi. All these are part of phonology. Okay, so these are important parts of components of phonology. So now in that, we have taken some sounds, that is sibilants. Sibilants are nothing but sa, she, sha, that is ushma. Okay, then vowel length contrast, that is hrasva and dirghata. The difference in meaning due to the difference in the length. Okay, then phonotactics, as I told you, the clusters, combination of sounds. Then gemination. Gemination is a term used in phonology to refer to dvitva aksharas. Ma. So here ma and ma, that is dvitva. So here that is known as gemination, doubling. Okay. Then nasal versus non-nasal, anunasika, ananunasika. Okay. Then retroflex consonants, murdhanya dhanulu. Then nasal stops. Okay, that is number of nasals in a language, because Malayalam differs from Telugu in number of nasals. Okay, maybe 6-7 nasals you may have, but in Telugu we may have only 5. These are the differences. But we are going to look at the similarities in terms of these things. So there is a table. So that is three-way classification of sibilants. Generally, sa, sha. Sa is dantya. Okay, sha is palatal. then sha is murdhanya. So this distinction is there across all the language families. If you look at the languages given here, Hindi, Urdu, Bengali, you can see your language. Kannada has 3, Malayalam has 3, Gujarati has, Marathi has, all these things. Then Punjabi, where there is no Dogri language doesn't have sha, and Santali, Sinhala, Santali doesn't have sha and sha. Bodo doesn't have, and Sanskrit, yes. So here, because let me tell you one thing. In Assamese also they have sa, and the distinction is not clear always across the languages, but most of the languages they have similarities. So Assamese, what happened, sa became ha. X, we represent that with ha. Then what happens? Wherever we have sa, they have ha. Assamese, ahomia, this is ha. That is not ha, that is ha, X. So here what happens, suppose, in Sanskrit, if you want to give ashirvachana to anyone, shatamanam bhavati shatayuh purusha shatendriya ayushyevendriya pratitishtate. In Assamese, hatamanam bhavati hatayuh purusha hatendriya. Okay? But here, meaning doesn't change, because all the Assamese, they have the same kind of cognitive ability, so they do not have this sha became ha. Then what they can do? Samajh mein aaya? These are the problems. If we have the mismatch between these 3 sibilants, this is one of the difficulties. That is one thing. Then second is that contrast in vowel length. Generally, there is a difference between short a and long a. I think in Sanskritam we have Hrasva Dirgha Pluta. Okay. So here, if you look at Telugu language, where is Telugu? This is somewhere it is, but Hindi, meal. Then Urdu mein nahi hai. I'll give you some more examples, because this is not exhaustive, but sometimes what happened, the typographic errors are also there. So ata, ata. I'm talking about Telugu. Ata means his name is Ata is, it is not confirm, it is not confirm. Okay. Ata is play. Okay. This kind of puta is page. Puta is 1/4 of a day. That is quarter of a day. That is puta. Okay. So this kind of contrast is that the technical term contrast, what we are, how we are using this, because if you change one sound instead of other sound, the meaning is changed. Okay. Instead of e, if you say e, then the whole meaning is changed. So here, to refer to this distinction, we use a term that is contrast. It may be in terms of length, it may be in terms of 2 consonants, it may be in terms of 2 vowels, whatever it may be. Like pin, bin. Instead of pa, if you say ba, then there are 2 words. Pin is different word, and bin is different. That is known as Arthabodhaka. I don't remember the Telugu equivalent for this contrast. Okay. Then consonant length in Indian languages. Consonant length, as I told you, this is gemination. Pata, patta. The difference is in one consonant with another consonant. It is like Hrasva Dirgha in vowel, Hrasva Dirgha in consonants. Okay, that is known as gemination. With this gemination also, we change the meanings of the words. So this is also, common across all the language families. Here we are not talking about languages, language families. Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, Astro-Asiatic, Tibeto-Burman language. Across these languages, we have collected data from 22 scheduled languages, and we have also collected data from some other languages like tribal languages, whatever the data that we have. Then we update these things, and we are coming with these conclusions. So consonant length is also another factor, and then nasal versus non-nasal words. If you look at the Hindi word, that is, can anybody read for me? Then sas is without nasal. Right? Sas and sans. Okay. With this, even already Panini mentioned these things, with the dirghata and hrasva, nasal, non-nasal, and all these things. We have 32 varieties of vowel pronunciations, all these things. Okay. Same thing I was talking to one of your classmates, I don't know, saying that learning these things is one thing, and applying that Paninian grammar to undocumented languages, and if you work in this framework, then that would be a great achievement. That is what I was telling her. So the nasal versus non-nasal thing, that is one thing. Even in Telugu sometimes we have mama, mama, but they are not contrastive, but sometimes it is contrastive. That means they change the meaning. Sometimes they do not change the meaning. Then I need not talk about retroflex, because Surya Prasad sir was talking about retroflex sounds. But how many retroflex sounds we have across the language families? That is ta, tha, that is Mahaprana, da and dha, and we also have na, ana. Ana is also murdhanyana. So across all these languages, we have the similarities in terms of retroflex. In Sanskrit, almost all the languages, we find these things. Then 5 plus nasal stops. As one of the Maheshwara Sutra, Niyama Gananam, okay. So here we have almost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nasals in all the languages across language families. Okay. Malayalam may have 1 or 2 more, but the other Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, Astro-Asiatic, Tibeto-Burman, all languages have these 5 nasal series. No. See, we haven't divided according to the language families here. 22 languages, because some languages may have this distinction, may not have this distinction. Those languages which have these distinctions, we have listed there. If there is no, then we haven't given anything there. But here the thing is that the 22 scheduled languages, we have taken them. Okay. We haven't grouped them according to language families. As it is, we have given there. But across the language families, we are looking at the concepts. Then you can see these are phonotactics. As I told you, in Hindi you have pra, tra, kra, sna. I don't know what is this sna. Do you have any Hindi word which have snana? Yes. Like this, in word medial position also, especially this is 2 consonant cluster. C1, C2 means 2 consonant cluster. In initial we have C1, C2, C3 only in Hindi, Satara. Okay. And in other borrowed words also we find the same stra. Stri, almost all the languages we find this 3. So in borrowed languages, borrowed words, we find the Satara consonants, and in word medial position also, we have 2 consonant clusters, and word medial position, Three consonant clusters are also present in some of the languages. Even in word final, two consonant clusters and final three consonant clusters also present. But according to the theory that within a syllable, if two sounds are coming one after the other, then only we can call that as cluster. Across the syllable boundaries, suppose if I say Samskrutam or Tandri, Tandri, okay. So here, where to cut a syllable is a problem. Okay, whether to cut the syllable after ta or tan or tand or tandri, so this is a big problem in the theory. So we have different theories to do the syllabification. That is different thing. That is advanced thing that we will discuss somewhere. Okay. So here another thing is that if it occurs more than one or two consonant clusters occur in word medial position, we never call that as a cluster. Then we call that as a sequence. Okay. C1, C2, C3 as a sequence in word medial position, if it is not part of one syllable. And whether it is a cluster or sequence, we use another term, that is consonant combination, to refer to these two terms. That are the basic things about. So across the language families, we find these clusters, that is C1, C2 word initial, C1, C2, C3, three consonant clusters word initial, three consonant clusters word medial, final C2, C3, even two and three consonant clusters in word final position. So morphological commonalities. So this is what we have done in phonology part. Now this is morphology. Morphological commonalities. That is in morphology, as Professor Saraj sir said, and yesterday a lot of people that talked about this reduplication, echo formation, onomatopoeic expressions, lexical doublets, plural formation, then derivation, that is noun to noun derivation, adjective to noun derivation, and verb to noun derivation, then compound and tense, all these things, then person, number, gender, case marking, morphological causatives, serial verb constructions, all these part of this morphology. Then reduplication. I need not tell you about this reduplication, because now you can look at the list and you can easily understand. So it is reduplication, may be two types. One is complete reduplication, another one is partial reduplication. So lahe, the whole word is repeated. So here it is complete reduplication. Suppose lahe he, if I say lahe he, then it is partial reduplication, because part of the word is reduplicated. He, lahe, that is total word reduplication. So partial reduplication is, in another way, is that echo formation, as Saraj sir said in the morning. So if you look at the Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Konkani, Marathi, Maithili, Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, in all these languages we find a reduplication. Okay, so almost all languages have this reduplication. Then what is the function of this reduplication? Why do we reduplicate the word? One of the reasons is that emphasis. And in some languages what happens, the reduplication is a plural formation process. Suppose lahe is something, let us say lahe means cow. It is not cow in any of the language, but lahe means cow. If they want to make this plural, then by the reduplication process they make this plural. That is lahe. This is plural again. That means cows. So this is one of the Dvivachanam is the mechanism of forming Dvivachanam is reduplication in certain languages. Because we think from our languages. तेलुगु में क्या है, हाँ उसके हिसाब से वहाँ उसमें भी वही ऐसा नहीं है. So that is what the beauty of descriptive grammar is that depending on the data, depending on the analysis, you write the grammar. Without the descriptive grammar, you do not have any prescriptive grammar. That is the reason. Onomatopoeic words, dhvanyanukarna shabdas. Okay. Dhvanyanukarna shabdas, we find in all languages. It is not about whether it is a literary language, non-literary language, tribal language, endangered. If it is a language, then there should be onomatopoeic sounds, dhvanyanukarna shabdas. And it is another name that is expressive morphology. So in expressive morphology also we talk about onomatopoeic words. Sometimes it is you may find there are many types of onomatopoeic things. Sometimes you may find the reduplication, sometimes you may find the echo formation. So all these things part of expressive morphology, including onomatopoeic. Paired words are lexical doublets. If you look at your languages in the list, you can easily find out that in Telugu, amma nanna, talli dandri, these are paired words, lexical doublets. Even in Pannian grammar also, I think he made some rules for these compounds, right? Why we should have Shiva Parvati, why not Parvati Shiva? We cannot have the so the pattern is fixed. Shiva Shivani Institute of Engineering we say, Shivani Shiva Institute we never say. So there is a fixed pattern in these words. That is more important. So across all the language families, these are the predominant similarities. Plural formation. Generally what happens, this plural formation is done by suffixation or affixation in most of the Indian languages. Suppose you take Telugu, lu is the plural marker, galu is the plural marker in one of the languages, and ngal is the one of the plural marker. So you take the base, that is you take the stem, noun stem, then you add the plural marker to it. So base, then plural marker. This is the affixation process. Through this affixation process, we form the plurals. But in Indo-Aryan languages, they change the vowel and they make the plural. है ना? Example बता सकते आप एक? मराठी में मुलगा and मुलगे. A is the, by changing the vowel itself, they make the plural formation. Some languages do not have any plural formation. Okay, this is also there. Like Bhasha Indonesia, they do not have number, gender, tense. I see. Because we never come across such languages, we don't understand the mechanism of their plural formation grammar. Okay, that's why linguistics पढ़ना. Plural formation. मराठी क्या है? राजा, राजे. Then Sanskrit बालकः, बालकाः. Vitukal. Tamil brother is there, no? Okay. Now this is derivational morphology. So we can create a noun out of noun, a noun out of adjective, a noun out of verb. So verbal noun, adjectival noun, noun out of noun. These are the things that we do in morphology. So मलयालम एग्जाम्पल सही है? हेलो नहीं है ना? हाँ. ओडिया कोई है इधर? ओडिया वाला पंजाबी, कन्नड़, कन्नड़ सही है एग्जाम्पल? सही है? हाँ वो तो ठीक है मगर ठीक है। अच्छा ओके। संस्कृत? So the agentive suffix that is kara, hiyo, kar, kala, kalakarudu in Telugu. Kara we borrowed from again Sanskrit, and we have added the PNG marker, that is do, which refer to male. Kalakari, that is the feminine gender. Then derivation from adjective to nouns. Okay. असमीज कोई है, बंगाली कोई नहीं है, बोडो डोगरी कोई नहीं है। हाँ हिंदी में देखिए वो पेदा पेदरिकम। सो देर आर different mechanisms to form nominals out of adjectives. Okay, adjectival nouns, these are. टाइपिंग तो एरर है, तो फॉन्ट चेंज हो गया। And then we have verbal nouns. So we derive nouns out of verbs. So here अब चेक करिए एक बार, आपका एग्जाम्पल है, आपका लैंग्वेज का एग्जाम्पल है इधर। हिंदी क्या है? लिखना, लिखा है। हाँ, हाँ। Now the comparative constructions we have generally, in Indo-Aryan languages we have comparative and superlative degrees also, whereas in other Dravidian languages we do not have this. Kartu Ripsita Tamam Karma, that is the superlative. Okay, the most desired by Karta, that is what that is superlative, but because superlative is not present in all the languages, at least these comparative constructions we have across the language family. So this is one of the striking features. Comparative constructions. Rama Lakshman కంటే పెద్దవాడు. Rama Lakshman. Tense difference. Okay, so here we have 3 types of tenses. In some languages they have 2 types of tenses, but in Telugu generally we say that bhuta bhavishyat vartaman. No, in Telugu we have only 2 tenses, that is past versus non-past. Velladu, vostadu. Vostadu means maybe present or maybe future. So this is the so in Dravidian languages we have 2-way distinction of tenses. Then whereas other languages like Bengali, Bodo, Gujarati and Indo-Aryan languages, they have 3-way distinction, that is past, present and future. What about Sanskrit? 3-way है ना? गच्छति, अगच्छत, गमिष्यति। ठीक है। So in Tamil also we have 3-way distinction. Telugu 3-way. Acha, tell me a word so that I can tell you whether it is 2-way or 3-way. Verb forms बोलिए, present, past, future. Ogutene. Present continuous, no? हाँ, अच्छा, अच्छा, अनन्तरं पश्यामः किमित्युक्ते see, we have collected data from the native speakers of Kannada who are working in Bharatiya Bhasha Samiti. They are translators. Okay, so we have collected data from them. Okay, maybe he is not a native Kannada speaker. Maybe Hindi Kannada he may be using it. जी हाँ स्क्रिप्ट में है हाँ ज़्यादा क्यों बोले तो फॉन्ट चेंज हो गया इसलिए అక్కడే ఏం జరిగింది అంటే మనం చేసి దాన్ని ప్రూఫ్ రీడింగ్కి ఇచ్చి దాని తర్వాత పబ్లిషర్కి వెళ్ళే వరకు ఆ ఫాంట్స్ క్యారీ అవుట్ కాలేదు అదే ठीक है then person we generally we have 3 persons no personal pronouns that is first person second person third person so across all the language families we have these things but there are certain differences that means in Dravidian languages we have inclusive and exclusive kind of things in we suppose when we say we memu and manamu there is even in Marathi also we have the same kind of inclusiveness. Memu means we are excluding the speaker. We are saying that memu coffee ki veltunnam, that means we are not inviting you. Manamu coffee ki veltunnamu, that means you are included. So within we have exclusive versus inclusive kind of differences in certain languages, but overall we have 3 persons and the other thing is that third person singular sometimes we have gender distinction, that is ame atadu adi. Okay, but maybe in Tamil or Malayalam you have adu, that means he she it, you don't distinguish for he she it. Adu means maybe he maybe she maybe it that adu ठीक है then no in some languages I'm not talking about Kannada or other things, in some other Dravidian languages they have adu, especially Erukala. I worked on that tribal language. Adu means he she it. Okay, like Hindi. Okay, no gender distinction, whereas in Telugu third person singular atadu, third person that is masculine, third person singular feminine ame, and neuter that is adi. We have this distinction, gender distinction in third person singular, but some languages they do not have, but more or less in all these languages we have first second third persons and singular and plural distinction is there. Then person difference in languages. Okay, case marking, there is a difference between case marking and postposition. Vibhaktis are known as case markers. Okay, whereas postpositions they are sometimes they are part of postpositions are part of vibhakti and postpositions are separate words like nundi in Telugu, from, it is like from, so it is not a vibhakti, it is a separate word which acts as a case marker. Okay, because of that reason we call these as postpositions. मराठी ठीक है? So so here nominative, accusative, genitive, dative, instrumental, locative, these are different cases, cases we have. So in all languages generally this nominative, that 0 mark is there, no, that means that is unmarked one. So nominative case is not marked by, overtly marked by any suffixes. Suppose nenu itself is a nominative case. We should not have naku like ku ki, like that overtly we do not have markers for nenu because that is unmarked one. So because of that reason all these zeros are unmarked languages. That means this is another similarity across language families. Nominative is unmarked. We do not have any marker to show that this is nominative case. For accusative, dative, instrumental, locative, all these things, we have markers. Then same thing for other languages. Preranatmaka kriyas, these causatives. Okay. If you look at Hindi or Marathi, karna, karvana, khana, khilvana, so all these causative constructions, they are also this is another striking feature of similarities across Indian languages. Okay. And serial verb constructions, like we can use more than 2-3 verbs in a construction, like Telugu and in other Indian languages. वही है ना, दिल टूट गया. टूट गया, this is the serial verb construction. ఆయన కొబ్బరికాయ పలగొట్టాడు, పగుల గొట్టు. Pagula and kottu, 2 verbs. Okay. And more than 2 also possible. నేను ఇచ్చేసేసానండి, నేను చేసి వచ్చేసానండి, నేను చేసి వచ్చు. So there are more than 2-3 verbs. So these kind of series of verbs are used in one construction which have only one agreement, that is known as serial verb constructions. This is also another striking point. Then syntactic similarities. So in these syntactic similarities, we are looking at word order. Already yesterday he spoke about word order, and verbless sentences, and pronominal adjectives, coordination, reflexes, relatives, karaka relations. So almost he touched upon all these aspects yesterday, Surya Prasad sir. But since this is we are discussing the syntactic commonalities, so we'll see. So word order, the same word order we have all the Indian language except 2 languages. One is Khasi and another one is Kashmiri. They have different word order, but so remaining Indian languages, they have the same word order, that is subject, verb and object. Then verbless sentences. Do we have verbless sentences in Sanskrit? Without verb, can we have sentences in any of the languages? भवतः नाम किम, इसमें क्रिया क्या है? अस्ति इति भवान् भवती वदति वा? किमस्ति? अस्तु, लिखा है. अस्ति अस्ति इति अहं मन्ये. Whether you are pronouncing that? भवतः नाम किम अस्ति बोल रहे क्या आप? That is okay, but at surface structure we are not pronouncing any verb here. हिंदी में उनका नाम राम है बोलते हैं ना, है is visible there, but संस्कृत में ऐसा नहीं है. तेलुगु में भी आयना डॉक्टर, इसमें क्रिया किधर है? क्रिया नहीं है. So here we call these type of constructions as NP constructions, that is equative constructions. I know these people, they are bored with these things. It's okay, no problem. Verbless sentences, then pronominalized adjectives. This is a new technical word. Let me explain you. Verbless sentences, pronominalized, ठीक है. It is missing, it's okay. So in pronominalized adjectives, what we say, generally the pronominal endings do, the, especially in the vadu, adi in Telugu. For adjectives we add these pronominal endings and we use them in the predicate. not in subject. We have in a sentence we have two parts. One is subject and another one is predicate. Ayane illu peddadi. Pedda is an adjective. Okay. Here the is the pronominal ending. Adi vadu. So these pronominal adjectives are added to pronominal endings are added to adjectives and they are used in predicate of a sentence. This is also a common phenomenon across all the language families. Okay. Then Karaka relations, I need not talk about these things because you are pundits in Karaka theory, right? Karta, karma, kriya, karana, apadana, sampradana, adhikarana. So I skip this part because adhikarana. Then semantic commonalities. So in semantic commonalities we have taken the spatial diaxis like ikkada, akkada, demonstratives we say ikkada, akkada. So in all languages we have this kind of spatial diaxis and numeral system. We have different numeral system like so 10 based system is there, 20 based system is there, and even in some languages they have 5 based system. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have different lexical items for up to 5. Then after 5, 5 plus 1, 5 plus 2, 5 plus 3. It is also possible. And in Telugu it is 10 plus 1, 10 plus 2, Dravidian. But in Munda languages it is up to 20, 20 plus 1, 20 plus 2. That is known as a vigesimal system. Decimal vigesimal system. Okay. Then numeral system and metaphors. The very interesting thing is that this particular expression, that is maar khayega, maar khayegi, hai na, maar khayega, maar khayegi. This is there across all the language. Debbal dintav Telugulo. Okay. मार खाएगा बोले तो मार खाते क्या है मार खाएगी बोले तो हाँ. So these expressions very much possible in languages. Everyone knows the meaning. Okay. So these are some of the things. Then but अस्ति महोदय इतोपि किञ्चित् अस्ति. But धन्यवादः. अस्तु. As I told you, I asked you to remind me that how to integrate this Indian grammatical tradition and modern linguistics. This is very important thing. So here there are certain universals in Paninian grammar. Especially there are things like under Panini Sutra Kutsite, Patanjali explains that this is Panchakam Pratipadikaartaha. Pratipadika, that is a noun, it exhibits 5 qualities or 5. What is that? Jati, Vyakti, Kriya, Sankhya, Lingam, Vibhakti or Karakam. So there is a difference between Vibhakti and Karaka. So here Vibhakti is a syntactic category. That is part of Vakya Shastra. Whereas Karaka is part of semantics. Okay. So this is the main difference. So this is one of the models that you can apply this to modern languages or undocumented lesser known languages. Okay. You take one noun and you see whether it follows the Paninian rule or not. These are the things that you have to work. Otherwise only learning the things and I wrote a paper on this, that application of Paninian rule to Yerukala language. Okay. So it is, yes, it is applicable when we are applying the Chomskyan grammar, Hallidayan grammar, and the modern linguistic grammars to Indian languages. Why don't we apply our own, Indian grammar to our languages? That is the thing, no? Huh? Even the compounds, vritti, the concept of vritti, that can also be applied. But no one is working on these things. That is what, my worry is, Whenever you write a paper, you write in Sanskrit, but, you try to apply those things to other languages, other Indian languages. Then only the Bharatiya Vyakaranam will exist. Otherwise, I'll give you another very important thing. This is, again, I don't want to say that, all the modern linguists, they have taken many things from, Indian linguistics and, they have copied. That is not my intention. Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari. These are, 4 stages of Vak. Okay. Para is, for me, para is consciousness. There, you don't explain anything. Okay. But at Pashyanti level, it is ideation level. Okay. Pashyanti, that means, so there are 2 things. One is seeing and one is being seen. Okay. So Pashyanti, there is the difference. Para, there is no any difference. And Madhyama, what happens? The medium comes into the picture. Ideation, after the ideation, then it is the conceptualization or the morphological part comes into the picture. Then Vaikhari, that is the express. Okay, acoustic sounds. So now this is a very good model. Already we have been working on these things, and as a team we are working on this. I'll tell you one thing. So the same sound change, that is Sanskritam to Assamese. Sakaram becomes Hakaram. Shatamanam, Hatamanam, whatever it may be. So here at para level there is no any difference. Bhartrhara, what he did is, for him para and Pashyanti together is 1 level. Okay. It's okay, we'll take, as 4 levels. Para is consciousness. Only you have knowledge. And where Pashyanti comes, what happens? Assamese people, para is same for Sanskritam and Assamese speakers. But at Pashyanti level, what happened? Sanskritam has 3 sibilants, that is Sa, Sha and Sha. Whereas, Assamese, they have only Sa and Ha, let us say. Okay? Subsequently, what happens? Whenever they have this Sa, in the place of Sa, they have Ha. It comes in the Spota level. That is, your Madhyama is nothing but Spota. Okay? Whatever is there, then, he explains it out. That is, Vaikhari. That is, acoustic signals. Okay? So now, the answer for many questions is that, why Sanskrit has 3 numbers, why not other languages? Because, the Pashyanti of Sanskrit people is that, that is, they wanted to have 3 number system. The others, they have only 2 number system. This is their Pashyanti. And subsequently, they have the medium. If you have 3-way distinction, subsequently you should have 3-way affixes or some mechanism should be there. That is formed in the medium. That is, Madhyama. Whatever that you have, that you are expressing, that is Vaikhari. It is not that, it is a linguistic model. Even it can be applied to culture. I'll tell you how. Para is there. So in Telangana, I can marry my maternal uncle's daughter. But whereas north, it is not possible. They treat her as a sister. Okay. But I married. In Telangana, it is, my Pashyanti is that. Their Pashyanti is that. Okay. Subsequently, you have the other levels. It is not about the culture. We can motivate. We are motivating language, we are motivating culture, even we can motivate any kind of variation in this model. Suppose Sangeetam is there. Okay. So why you have n number of ragas? That is their Pashyanti. At para level, you do not have any. Here, you know, having ga 1, ga 2 is one raga, having only ga 1 is one raga, having only ga 2 is another raga. So all these things, they are part of Pashyanti. Okay. Then, you know, subsequently you have the Vaikhari. It is not about the music. Even for Jyotish also you can motivate these things. So wherever there is a variation, you know, the Indian model, that is, you know, Para Pashyanti Madhyama, it works. Okay. But, you know, all the scholars, they are studying these things, and, you know, if you go further, then, you know, we can superimpose these trigunas, sattva, rajas, tamogunas, ichha shakti, jnana shakti, kriya shakti in this, and, you know, we can create, you know, furthermore, you know, complications, and that is furthermore, you know, frameworks. That is different thing. But, you know, I can see that, you know, Para Pashyanti Madhyama Vaikhari is a very good framework for motivating the variation in languages, in culture, in music, in Jyotisham, whatever the Shastra you name, you know, we can motivate that. This is what. And here, the father of modern linguistics is Ferdinand de Saussure. Okay? He says that there are certain dichotomies he proposes. One of those dichotomies is that, you know, lang and parole. Lang is internal language, parole is external language. Which is expressed is external language, which is not expressed, that is, you know, internal language. This is. Then, you know, what Chomsky did? He changed the terms, and, you know, something he added to these things, and, you know, he created the other dichotomy, that is competence and performance. Competence is nothing but, you know, the knowledge of your language. Parole is nothing but, you know, the usage of your language in a particular context. समझ में आए? Now, whenever we read, we study these concepts, you know, what we know, oh, a great concept. Ferdinand de Saussure, he made. Chomsky, he did well. But, you know, if you look at the Para Pashyanti Madhyama and these things, for me, Para Pashyanti Madhyama is internal language. Because, you know, there is no any expression. Only in Pashyanti you have expression. So here the similarity, striking similarity is that, you know, maybe Ferdinand de Saussure, he studied Sanskritam. Para Pashyanti Madhyama Vaikhari, he split these four, you know, categories into two-way categorization. That is lang and parole. The same thing is, you know, explained by Chomsky in different terms. Competence and performance. Originally, Mulataha, Para Pashyanti Madhyama is whose concept? When you are motivating variation through the modern linguistics and Western models, then, you know, can't you motivate these things in terms of Para Pashyanti Madhyama Vaikhari? No scholar is talking about this. Whether it is right or wrong, you should work in the Paninian framework. Then only Bharatiya Bhashas will flourish. Otherwise, Jai Hind. We can't do anything. Thank you for the opportunity, Mahodaya. Dhanyavadaha. Ramachandra Mahodaya and Vishwanatha Mahodaya. Dhanyavadaha. Questions adagani one, sir? They have many questions. Let them ask.
Through email also you can ask. Sir, please provide your email IDs. They will ask, sir. Whenever they are thinking, ask. Free to ask.
No, I can provide my phone number also. Don't worry.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
If you have any one or two, हो गया sir हमारा time.
हो गया.
हाँ, okay then. Somebody said, हाँ.
हाँ, जो फ का आपने बताया, तो मैंने यहाँ के ही ऑब्जर्व किया है, जो उपध्मानीय हम बोलते हैं उसका उच्चार यहाँ पे म्हणजे पिकह ऐसे बोलते हैं यहाँ पे. तो वो जो फ है, अगर वो साइकोलॉजी में, मतलब साइकोलॉजिकल रियलिटी जो आपने बताई, वहाँ पे अगर नहीं है फ, तो उच्चारण कैसे होता है? मतलब मराठी लोग जब संस्कृत बोलते हैं उनका मैंने सुना है तो वहाँ फ नहीं आता, पिकह पिघ पिकह ऐसे बोलते हैं, पर यहाँ मैंने सुना है कि फ उच्चारण होता है। तो यहाँ साउथ इंडिया में मतलब ऐसे कैसे
See, you,
हाँ वही
see, you cannot generalize the thing, first thing, okay?
हाँ या
If you learn the Sanskrit rules, antafpuram, okay? So here we pronounce. Unless you have training, you cannot pronounce it. Because, you know, antafpuram is from the Sanskrit, okay? If you do not know that, you know, it should be pronounced as fa, then, you know, how can you pronounce?
पर
For that, you know, you need to have a good teacher.
या बट मतलब यहाँ पे तो आपने बताया कि फ ये नहीं है, मतलब इंडियन में तो फ है ना, तो
That is, so, see, Visarga niyamas, Anuswara niyamas, they are different. Okay? Sanskrit language is different. Okay? But when you talk about other Dravidian, I don't want to make this kind of, you know, distinction, but, you know, Telugu, because we borrowed these things from Sanskrit, some people, scholarly people, they pronounce, because they know that it should be pronounced as Upadmaniya. Okay? And if the teacher doesn't know how, what he can teach to other, you know, children or, you know, others. Okay? So most of the teachers, they don't know. Subramhanya, it should be pronounced like this. Janhavi, Jahnavi, nahi. Subramhanya, ऐसा नहीं है ना. Subramhanya. Ma should come first, you know, Ha should. Okay? I am not a Sanskrit scholar, but, you know, I have learned these things. Okay? So one should teach, otherwise, you know, you cannot. In the same way, when you learn English, stress all these things, you know, it should be learned properly. Otherwise, you will commit mistake. Okay? Okay, time.
Sir,
చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్.
sir, one question.
बोलिए.
बोल अधुना इति